Okay, so welcome to part 2 of this tutorial. In this video I'm going to be talking about how to create the thumbnail image basically, and then the final part, or maybe in this part depending on how long this first bit takes, we're going to be covering how to sort of show the image on the profile. So what we've done is checked that the avatar file exists, and if it does we want to process it and save a smaller sort of copy of it. So what we're going to do first is get the size of the uploaded image. So we're going to do, we're going to define a new variable called source size. This is going to be equal to get image size. This function takes one parameter, and that is the name of the file you want to analyze. In this case it's just avatar. This function will return an array of information, sort of from the name it suggests it just gets the size, but it also gets the MIME type. So this is like the type of the image, so it'll be either like JPEG, PNG or GIF, were the ones we're going to handle. So we're going to come down a few lines now, and we're going to check the type against those three, and if it's one of those three we're going to create the image. So moving on, let's do if source size MIME, which is the MIME type, equals image slash JPEG, and this image slash JPEG is a MIME type. A bit more information on that you can sort of look up on the internet if you're that interested, but effectively it's just a sort of string that represents the sort of type of the file. So it tells you that it's an image and that it's a JPEG. Simple. So what we're going to do if it's a JPEG is create a new variable called source image for source image, and set that equal to image create from JPEG. I'm going to pass in the avatar parameter, because the image create from functions take one parameter. They're all the same except they create from different formats. So we're just passing in the avatar, which is the file name. And then after we've checked if it's an image, we want to do else if and check the next one, which is going to be PNG. So again, source size MIME equals image slash PNG. If it's a PNG, we want to do source image equals image create from PNG avatar. There's the pattern appearing yet, and if it's the next one, if source size MIME equals image slash GIF, we want to create the image from a GIF, so image create from GIF avatar. There we go. What we want to do if none of these are, well actually let's not do that first. First thing, after we've found the source image and created a new image resource, is check if the if it's succeeded, because these functions will return false. Like say if someone uploaded a PHP script with if they uploaded a PHP script with the sort of .jpeg extension, it would still be uploaded, and well actually this function would fail for that, but well anyway, if that were to happen, the image create from functions would return false. So before we actually process the image, we're going to do a check to make sure that the image has been created. I mean, there are other things that would cause it to fail as well, like an invalid image perhaps, or well, all kinds of things. Wrong file type, there you go. So if we do if source image is not equal to false, and then in this block here we're going to be resizing the actual image. Now there's a bit of a problem here, because if the image isn't one of these three formats, there won't be source image defined. So when we get here, source image will be undefined and it'll give us an error. And also it won't be equal to false, so it'll try and continue. So what we need to do, if none of these have been met, is just add an else statement where we set source image to equal to false. There we go. So that's basically that. So if none of these formats are given, it'll be set to false, and then this condition will be true. Sorry, this condition will be, well, it will be false, so this block won't run. That's what I'm trying to say. Right. So inside this block, we need to set the image to a certain size, and then move it. Well, not move it. Create it at the location we want. So what we need to do first is, well, what we're going to do first is define a new variable called thumb width, and this is going to be equal to 200, which is actually too big. I found out earlier, but never mind. Maybe it'd be nice to have big images for the video. I don't know. Anyway, so we're going to set the thumb width. And the reason we're defining this as a variable is because we have to use it in quite a few places. Well, three. Yeah, 3. And it'd be easier to change in those 3 places. It'd be easier to change in one variable than in those 3 places. If that makes sense. So it's sort of to future-proof your code a little bit. That's not the right term. It's sort of to, well, it's to make it easier to change things in the future. Say like you did 200, loads of people uploaded their avatars, and you realise, oh god, that's too big. You want to come and set it to 100 or 150 or a sensible size. Then you could just come here and change this one number, and because it's called thumb width, it's very clear what that represents. Anyway, once we have the width defined, what we want to do is a quick check, because if the image they uploaded is smaller than the thumbnail, we don't want to do any resizing because it'll waste a bit of memory, a bit of time, and also it'll just get bigger, which will look ridiculous. So what we want to do is check if source size, which you remember we created up here, element 0 is the width of the image in pixels. So if this is less than or equal to thumb width, we're just going to set the thumb variable equal to the source image. And what that will do is literally create a copy of the source image variable, sort of as the thumb variable. And then later, this is also so then the thumb variable is still like an image resource, but it's just the original one that they uploaded. So then what we're going to do after that is sort of upload it, process it, just save it straight away without resizing and working out any sort of resizing stuff. And if it is bigger, so else, what we want to do is resize the image. So we're going to define a new variable now called new size, and this is going to be effectively the same as the source size, except it's going to be the size of the new image or the thumbnail. So we're going to set 0 equal to the thumb width, and we're going to set new size 1 equal to so this is where we want to shouldn't really do that. This is where we want to sort of scale the height of the thumbnail to the original image. So say if you had like a really tall original image, you'd want to have a really tall thumbnail. So what we're going to do is sort of work out the aspect ratio of the original image by doing something in brackets, which is going to be source size 1 divided by source size 0. And this will be like a decimal number. So what we're doing here is dividing the height by the width. Sorry, height by width. So that will be effectively the aspect ratio. If the result of this division here is equal to 1, that'll be a perfectly square image. If it's 2, that'll mean that the image is twice as tall as it is high. So say if it was 2, we'd want to have the height as 400 to keep the same aspect ratio. So thumb width of 200, and say the image was twice as high as it is wide, we'd want to set the thumbnail height to 400. So by doing this division, we can get the 2 that we need. So then what we want to do is just multiply by the thumb width. There we go. And that's created the sort of new size variables that we're going to use to actually generate our thumbnail image. So once we have the width and height worked out, we need to create the new image resource that we're going to copy the image onto. So we're going to define a new variable here called thumb. This is going to be equal to image create true color, spelled wrong. And we're going to pass in the width and height, so new size 0 and new size 1. And after that, we just need to copy the image, the original image, onto this resized image. and we also need to resample it, which means sort of just make it look nice, I guess. So yeah. Okay, so if you copy it without resampling, you'll get like horrible pixelated effects. So it's effectively the same as if you had like a large image and you sort of resized it with HTML by just setting the width and the height in the image tag. It'll look all pixely and horrible. But if you actually kind of compress it with an image, like something like Photoshop, I should say, you will get a nicer result. It'll look a bit smoother. There won't be massive pixels all over. So that's why we use the resampled function. Anyway, to do what I'm just talking about, we use the image copy resampled function. I'm probably making quite a few typos with these function names, but they are basically ridiculous. I prefer underscores, but what can you do? So image copy resampled, and the image. This takes like loads of parameters. I think it's I could count, but it'd take too long. So what we need to do is the first parameter we need to pass in is the image that you want to copy onto. So the destination, and this is going to be thumb. Second parameter is the image you want to copy onto it, so the source, which is source image. The next 4 parameters are sort of the location, and you can look up specifically what these are on php.net. So just go to php.net/image copy resampled, and it'll direct you to the function page, and it has a list of what all the parameters mean. But these sort of control where you're copying from and to. But it's irrelevant for this because we're just copying the whole thing. So 0, 0, 0, 0. After the zeros, we have the size, the new size, and then the source size. So it's the width and height of the new image, and then the source image. So I think PHP uses that to work out how much resizing is happening. I don't really know. Anyway, so we're going to set new size 0 for X, new size 1 for Y, both of the new image, and then source size 0 and source size size 1 for the source image. And that should have now resized our image. Whoops, wrong place. So once we've done that, we need to actually create the image, because at the moment all we've got is an image resource, which is like a PHP thing. So we need to actually save the image to a file, and we're going to do that using the image JPEG function. This function takes 2 parameters. The first one is the image resource that you want to save, which is thumb, and the second one is the file name. So the location we're going to be saving the files is in the core folder. So this is well, if you remember from the previous tutorial, the profile tutorial, this is stored in the globals array as the path variable. And then from there we want to go into user avatars, and then we want to save it with the ID as the file name. So this is stored in the session. Again, if you remember from the previous tutorial, sorry, it's in the session variable called UID. Then we just need to add the .jpg extension because we're saving a JPEG. So just to sum up what's going on here, we're creating a sorry, what was I saying? We're uploading an image, and then taking its temporary name here, and then we're checking if that file exists, because if they haven't uploaded an image, it won't exist. Or if something's gone wrong, it won't exist either. Then we're getting its size, determining its using its type, determining its type as well as getting its size, using its type to create an image resource from the image using one of the appropriate methods, making sure that has worked. If the image is smaller than the sort of maximum, the maximum width for a thumbnail, we just define the new image resource thumb as the one they uploaded. If it's not, so if it is bigger, we need to work out what size it should be for the thumbnail, create a new blank image resource, copy on the original source at a resized sort of shape, I guess, and then finally save the image to a file. And then just down here we have the same updating code from the previous part. So yeah, that should basically work now. We can test this. Hopefully I won't have made any typos. To go back to our edit profile page, hit reload. Doesn't look like I made any typos. So if we browse for a file, and I'll just pick, let's see, that weird thing, hit update. Yeah, you see those functions, they have such terrible names. Anyway, let's fix that. So line 64 is this one. Image create true Mr. Knee. There we go. Go back to our browser, hit reload. We do want to resend the data. Your profile has been updated. So let's see if the avatar image has been uploaded. So if we go to the avatar upload folder, which is where we're working, go into this core folder, and then go into the user avatars folder, you can see we now have this one.jpg. So this number 1 is my user ID. So if Bob came and uploaded an image, he would be 2, and whoever else would be like ascending numbers. So that's quite a nice way just to save the image without having to store something in the database. And if I just open this image up, you can see that its width is 200 and its height is 300. So, well, yeah, that's just that. It has been resized. So in the next part, what we're going to cover is how to fetch this image, and also what to do if the user hasn't uploaded one, which is that ridiculously big default image thing that I showed you in the part 0. Okay, so thanks for watching, and join me in part 3, 2, 3, I think it's 3, where I will do what I just said I'll do.